We got a tier list. We got a tier list we're gonna make while we wait for this group to fill. So, Extreme Trials in Final Fantasy XIV, right? This kind of content serves a very specific niche. It's not quite savage, and it's not normal. It is the stepping stone difficulty between the easy, normal content that you just vibe with, you pog out, you hang around, you hit your buttons, and savage, which is, you know, very organized, very concrete mechanics that you need to succeed in order to beat the fight. These, in my opinion, should lie somewhere in the middle. They should definitely be able to be done in Party Finder with no voice calls, but they should absolutely present a challenge and should be completely impossible if you're unprepared. That is how I feel about Extreme Trials. So that is the angle at which I am approaching these with. As far as categories go, there's enough, like, oh my god, categories. What does that mean? Criteria, that's the word I'm looking for how I'm ranking them. I feel like a lot of these fights have enough variability in just like random niche things that no matter how I set that up, I will have to bring up something that is outside of those criteria. So I'm gonna go with my gut, and we're gonna go from there. Ranking based on vibes, literally, exactly. This is an open discussion, so feel free to yell at me in chat for doing shit wrong. And I think we're just gonna go ahead and start. Zodiac, the Darkened Side. This is the first extreme of the expansion, and I think it does a really good job of being the first extreme of the expansion. It is not particularly hard at all. Once you get it, you really get it. But it's punishing enough with, like, the meteors in the downtime. And even, like, some of the snapshotting on those lasers. Good god. It is so quick. But it's a really chill, really breezy fight. It's alright to farm if you're dumb like me and did. It's okay. I'm gonna give it okay. It's solid. It's fine. I typically don't like bosses that are all puzzle, as you will find out later. But I think this does an okay job of making the puzzle fun to execute, even when you are familiar with it. Definitely just an okay, the bonus points for rotating platform. Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about it. I like the rotation. It gets expanded so much in, like, Criterion, which is funny. But there's not really anything else that's notable. I guess the meteors, those also just confuse people, but once you figure them out, they're not really anything. So let's move on. Hydaelyn. It's one of these two. I don't think it's S. I think the fights this expansion that are S are very clearly above it. But I think what it does phenomenally. It's like standard rotation of the plus sign in out is weirdly hard for people to do. It's a spread, I guess, so Party Finder can't do it. And then there's all the shit in the I love this ads phase with all of my heart. It's so nothing. It's very little. It's the tanks pull the ads around one side of the arena, and everyone else goes around the opposite side and kills all the crystals. But it's so much more fun than that would insinuate. I think she's great. I just don't think she does quite enough unique to be spectacular. Lightwave 1 is one of the best extreme mechanics this expansion. Lightwave 1 is so much fun when you have to rotate around the crystal and block the light explosions from the crystals that the light waves are hitting. Incredible mechanic. When you're on Black Mage and you drop your ley lines in the middle and you're like rotating around trying to block, it's so good. Lightwave 2 is a little janky, and I really was not a huge fan of the chakrams. I did not think the chakrams were particularly fun to do. But it's fine. It's quite good. It's quite solid. I would love basically everything in this fight to come back. So, it's great. Endsinger. Endsinger Extreme is one of my least favorite fights in the game. Endsinger Normal is incredible. Endsinger Normal is the most cinematic fight we've ever gotten besides, like, maybe Shinryu. This normal mode version of this fight makes me so hype every single time, especially after the item level changes so you don't skip shit anymore. Fantastic. The EX version is, like, why how did we get to these random head puzzles? Where did these come from? The ones, and it's also that whole thing of the mechanic takes 11 years to set up, and you know what's gonna happen from the very first moment, so you just walk over there, and you just wait. You wait a million years. There's nothing that's, like, fun to execute. The planets are... Oh, the fucking planets! I hate the planets. I hate the planets with all of my heart. Ooh, this fight makes me angry. I don't like Endsinger Extreme. Normal's great. Once again, normal, wonderful. Love normal. Barbaricha. I don't think this is a surprise. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Barbaricha is... I think it's gonna be at the top. There's one other fight that's gonna go up here, but I think Barbara's better. She's just so fun. I don't know how to describe it other than that. She is fast. She is frantic. It's dodge the shit. It's dodge the shit like a motherfucker. For a long time. And it gets you so pumped. Moving her... when she gets her hands out and she starts smacking the ground and the damage shoots through the roof. Like, into the stratosphere. The tumults are going off, and you have to dodge all the shit, and there's flares, and there's stacks, and there's knockback. Oh my god. Oh, it makes me so happy. I absolutely adore this fight. I want a Four Fiends ultimate because I need Barbaricha to have, like, a transitory phase where she just does all her shit, and it's the hardest thing in the whole world. And I need that in my life. She makes me so happy. Mario Kart and PlayStation. As God intended. The way this fight uses enumerations also, where she traps you in the little bubbles and you have to stretch your enumerations so that people in other bubbles can match with you. It's so cool. It's so cool. I love Barbaricha. We stan Barbaricha. Rubicante is the opposite. Is Rubicante mistake or is Rubicante bad? I think Endsinger is below no matter what. I think Rubicante's mistake, because the mechanic that I really like in Rubicante, the limit cut at the very end, gets skipped on content. And everything else is awful. Most of the fight is spent up doing the spin boy mechanic. And I hate the spin boy mechanic. First of all, because once again, similar to Endsinger, it's too much for my brain to handle, first of all. And second of all, my brain doesn't need to handle it, because if there's one person in the instance who knows how to do it, you just follow them. You just follow them around. And you sit in the spot, and you're fine. It's just not fun. It's not fun to do the first time you solve it, and it's not fun to do any of the other times you solve it. You put the Dorito on them. Exactly. You find the little triangle fellow, and you go and hang out with the triangle fellow. And that solves the entire fight. The ads phase is incredibly nothing. There is very little to do in the ads phase. The tanks get the tethers, I guess, and we all know how much tanks love tank buster tethers. Aren't they everyone's favorite thing? They're very consistent and good. And then you get into phase 2, and you know what you do in phase 2? You do more spinning. And it's still not fun. They add a little variance in how the puzzles work, but they're still not fun to do. They still require you to do weird shit. They had to change how Dragoon works completely because it couldn't use half its abilities during the fight. Rubicante's a mistake, I think. I don't think Rubicante is bad. I think Rubicante goes below bad. I think this fight is pretty darn awful. On top of that, there was no reason to do it, because it came out in an even number patch, and it's just like... Dislike that fight. Golbez, on the other hand, is the other S tier. Golbez is incredible. This fight's hard. This, like, deadass. This is a hard fight. I think all these other ones, like, feel very... Rubicante's really easy. Zodiark is really easy. But the rest of them are... I don't want to talk about it anymore. These two feel very extreme difficulty. Barbarich is very fast, but she's very manageable once you figure out where everything's going to show up and how to space your cooldowns out. And Heidelin just demands a lot of your awareness. Golbez is both. Golbez requires you to be paying attention to, like, the sides of the arena during... Oh, what's that mechanic called? With the air balls? Void Arrow? I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about, with the enumerations and the stacks that destroy people, and you have to watch based on the sides of the arena the clones spawn on, and they shoot their wind balls, and you gotta find the safe spot. That mechanic's awesome. It's very fast, and it requires a lot of attention being paid. The meteors are the same way. Almost everything is the same way. If you lapse in Golbez, you die. And it has body checks, unlike a lot of other extremes. The one that everyone remembers is the knockback into the towers and the flare, where people, like, Party Finder had strats around, if someone dies before that, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna make this happen? And they had it. They figured it out. They made it go. I don't know what else there is to say about Golbez. It's really fucking good. It's a good fight. The music makes me so happy as well. That's a common thing, though. None of these fights have bad music. All of them are spectacular. Rubicante's remix of the Four Fiends theme is one of the best songs in the game. I'll die on that hill. Utterly fantastic. Zeramus? One of these two, once again. I don't think it's as good as Zodiark, but I think it fulfills a similar role, and I don't think it does it as well as Zodiark. Zeramus tries to be faster, but it isn't. It, like, looks like it's faster, but it's a very slow fight. It's so easy. It's so easy. It's not extreme difficulty. It is a difficulty I think should be in the game. That's kind of what I'm feeling. I think it's low B. I don't think it's C. I wouldn't call it a bad fight. Definitely not great. It's just kind of dull. It just doesn't... After your first clear, which is very cool, it's very cinematic, it looks great, that last phase is awesome. I do really like the last phase. That last, like, 10% or whatever, where he goes into Engi mode. Fantastic. Really, 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 really good. Very fun, very... That part is fast. That part is speedy. You get situations where you're like, I will stand here, and then all of the orange appears, and you go, oh no, I can't! And you have to dead sprint to a safe spot, and you see someone else there with your spread, and you panic. It's so good. It's really, really, really good. The rest of the fight is kind of a slog. I cleared this my first time. In the first instance, I went in completely blind, and we killed it. And that should never be the case. That should absolutely not be the case. It's just so dull until that last little bit. Thankfully, you cannot skip the last little bit. Thankfully, it hard, like, the number forces it there, and it's not a timer. Because if you skipped that, this would be terrible. This would be a mistake fight if you skipped that last 20%. But I think the way it is good enough. I think it will... Like, it's fine. I don't think it's going to be remembered super fondly. I think it's going to be remembered as being really fucking easy. Because it is. And that is a very active problem. That being said, it's fine. It's serviceable. And that's a tier list, I suppose. That's the whole thing. That's all of the fights. I think I'm happy with this. This looks good to me. This feels correct. I guess the only thing that I'm debating is Rubicante this bad? Is Rubicante here or is Rubicante here? This is the thing that I am a little unsure of. So that last mechanic is really cool. The last mechanic is really cool, but I so despise the rest of it. I think I have to leave it down here. So much of it is so bad, and it's just that one mechanic that tries to redeem it, and you skip that mechanic anyway. So that's the tier list. We will go with this. We will go with this, and we will be content. And I guess I'll post it on Twitter and stuff. Might make a YouTube video out of this little creation. See if we can get some people showing up.